Welcome to Chai with Manjula. With an increasing number of organizations engaged in development work in India, there's a growing need for forums and platforms where they can network and collaborate. One such platform has been created by an organization called India Development Coalition of America, also known as IDCA. And our guest is Porus Dadaboy, president of IDCA. Porus, welcome to Chai with Manjula.
Happy to be here.
Well, I'm looking forward to sharing information about IDCA with our viewers so that they can benefit from your programs and services, or they can support you in some way. So tell us a little bit about how IDCA started and what its mission is.
IDCA started in October of 2003, several years ago, and we had 15 Indians from 15 states in the United States, and they really represented 18 states in India. And they got together and they decided that we should have a platform and a network to get NPOs and NGOs together. With the idea of empowering NPOs and NGOs and individuals to accelerate sustainable development in India and also to mitigate climate change.
Okay, so how do you go about accomplishing this mission?
What we have done is we have created a network to help the collaboration and the cooperation between Indo-American organizations, individuals, NPOs who are interested and engaged in the development of India. We do this by a system of monthly forums, which we hold at the libraries in and around the western part of Chicago. We promote a spirit of giving, a spirit of volunteering, and help both Indians and Americans work together as teams. We also conduct research in the best available practices and innovation at the current time. And we share these practices with the NGOs, the NPOs in India. We also organize workshops, regional conferences, national conferences, and we also use university settings to do this.
Now, India's problems are huge. There are so many areas one could work on. So tell us, which areas do you focus on?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it. We try to keep our focus very simple. And we decided that we want to be in the wealth creation business. So when we look at the word wealth, the first word, the first letter that comes to my mind is water. W for water. And 50% of all illnesses in India and in the developing world are water-based. So if we improve the water, we would solve a major issue. The second is E, which stands for energy, environment, and education. And we have to look at all these three factors along with the economic reality of how it applies. The third letter in wealth is agriculture. So we looked at methods of improving agriculture, which may be, for an example, reverse innovation, which we are doing in India today. The fourth letter is L, which is livelihoods, or what we in America call creating jobs, and learning. So we educate and look at new methods of learning to improve both the cognitive skills of our people. The next letter is T, which is training. And we work with institutions and educational groups to improve the quality of training, whether it is at the university level or it is at the technical level or at the school level. And the last is healthcare. And we have several projects and several initiatives in healthcare so that combined we create wealth in the country by doing forums and conferences on these subjects.
So wealth is an acronym here.
Yes.
And you have it all covered, basically. All the key areas are covered. And you mentioned earlier, the forums and workshops and research and conferences. Let's talk about that, the activities of IDCA, especially the conference, I think, which is your signature event.
Yes. We have for the last 8 years, for the last 7 years, this is our 8th year. Mm-hmm. For the last 7 years, we have done conferences in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And we have done conferences in New Delhi. We do one conference in Chicago and one conference in New Delhi.
Mm-hmm. Chicago because the organization is based there.
Right. Okay. It started there. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of our founding members there. Okay. They all met there originally in 2003. So mm-hmm. Chicago is the base for our conferences.
I see.
We just did a recent conference at Johns Hopkins University mm-hmm. in near Washington, D.C., right. which was attended by about 50 registrants.
Who are some of the attendees in these conferences?
Most of the attendees are professors from colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. We also have several NGOs that come and attend and make their presentations.
I see.
And they could be large and they could be small. Mm-hmm. And
do you also bring in philanthropists in there?
We have had, surprisingly, we have had philanthropists come and attend our meetings. Right. As a matter of fact, Mr. Koshla, Vinod Koshla, uh-huh. who is well known in this area,
right.
attended one of our meetings in New Delhi. And he showed up as a welcome guest.
I see.
So we do have philanthropists but we are not really a fundraising organization. Our real focus is to get people together at the grassroots uh-huh. and help the 638,000 villages in the country.
I see. And do you also have your own projects besides these activities that you have, like conferences, workshops and all? Yes. Any initiatives that you have launched?
Yes. 2 years ago, rather than take the conferences and the training, mm-hmm. we said, let us decide and do projects on the ground. And when we say projects on the ground, we are very selective. We only do precedent-setting projects.
I see.
So if we do one project, it sets a precedent for the whole country. Mm-hmm. So that has been our focus.
So give us a few examples of these projects.
Be delighted. We went to a town called Vijayanagaram, mm-hmm. which has a population of about 150,000 citizens. And they had this big central retention pond. And the main problem in Vijayanagaram was elephantitis, where your legs become large from mosquito bites.
Oh, yeah.
So we went and met with the collector of the district mm-hmm. for 5 years in a row. And at the end of the 5th year, the collector said, okay, I'll give you 3 crore rupees. Help us clean up elephantitis.
Okay.
So one of our members stayed there for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
He created a gravity-fed system of 3-layer tanks.
I see.
And cleaned up the whole area. It looks beautiful like Marine Drive in Bombay or Chicago Lakeshore Drive now.
Okay.
A few years ago, about 4 years ago, one of our couples decided to create a foundation for nursing in India. Mm-hmm. And the couple, through their efforts, and the Red Cross Society in India and the University of Illinois, mm-hmm. created the first nursing school in the country that specializes in training nurses for HIV/AIDS.
I see.
So this was another precedent-setting project. Mm-hmm. Done by us.
Critical area.
Yeah. We also do unique projects because of the villages. Mm-hmm. We have a gentleman who went to a Harijan village where there were 400 families. And we went there and we spent 8 meetings with the people in the villages. Mm-hmm. And we did their drinking water, their sanitation, and also put in a reverse osmosis system and a bottling plant, mm-hmm. and we made it sustainable so they could sell the bottled water.
I see.
We were very fortunate to get grants from the Rotary Club to enable us to do this.
Okay.
Our last project, which I would like to describe mm-hmm. to you, is bringing light in darkness where people are off the grid, electric grid.
I see. And how many villages are there?
We are working
without
right
electricity?
Oh, there must be, I would say, the whole of Orissa, Bihar, sections of Madhya Pradesh. Mm-hmm. If you look at a satellite picture, it will give you an idea of how dark India is when you see all the lights go up, and you'll see the areas where there is darkness. So we went ahead and installed solar lanterns to replace the kerosene lantern. Our first site we picked was a place called Chitrakoot, which was the home of Ram and Sita when they went historically into Vanvas.
I see.
And we started out with 4 villages. Then we went to 10 villages, and now we will be reaching 40 villages with 4,000 lanterns. 10% of the investment came from IDCA. 2-to-1 matching funds came from the Rotary Club.
Okay.
And that was again matched 3-to-1 by NERI, which is the National Energy Research Institute. So we collaborated with different people to make this possible. We went to a town called Vapi, Gujarat.
I see.
And about 3 years ago, I read about it on the internet, and it indicated that Vapi was one of the most 10 polluted places in the world. It was polluted, and Greenpeace had gone there and had done research to substantiate it. Fortunately for us in Chicago, we have the Metropolitan Sanitary District. And we had 2 Indian gentlemen who had worked there as a research director and a plant manager of the best waste treatment plant in the country by the federal offices. So I took these 2 gentlemen and we went to Vapi, Gujarat, and we did a study for them and gave them a report 3 years ago to improve the water, air system on their waste treatment. They have 364 industries, plus they have the sewage of 75,000 people all flowing in to try and correct this. Based on our report and the changes they did, there was a substantial improvement in the air quality in the region.
So that's your work in the environment.
And the environment. And Vapi, I am proud and happy to tell your listeners, has been removed now as one of the 10 most polluted places in the country and in the world.
These are all remarkable projects. They are covering all the key areas like environment, health, sanitation, water. Earlier you mentioned the conferences, so let's go back to that because that's your signature event.
Yes.
So give us some names, some examples of organizations that are benefiting from the conferences and who have formed alliances through IDCA.
We have a list, a large list. Let me just give you a list over the years who have attended our conferences. We have had Mr. Balbir Mathur for the Trees for Life out of Kansas, and he goes all over the world planting trees. We've had Professor Kamal Bava, who comes from the University of Boston.
I see.
He is an Ashoka Trust researcher, and he does research in ecology and the environment, and he's even into saving turtles. We've had Dr. Suvi Sehgal, who has his own foundation in Haryana, and he is one of our large donors. And he was instrumental in agricultural seeds in the United States. We have had Manish Jain from the Swaraj Foundation.
I see.
We have had Mr. Jagdish Sukla from Gandhi College, Dr. Sharma from Gwalior, who runs a children's hospital. We've had Shirdar Patel from Detroit. He has the Spread India Foundation, and he builds schools and educates people. We've had Ram Krishnan with the Ganga Trust. He is an IIT graduate, and he took IITians on a 1-week learning journey through Tamil Nadu on water. We have Rhoda Patel, who runs Gram Seva in Gujarat, and it's a pediatric hospital, and it does malnutrition for the children, because 40% of the children in India are suffering from malnutrition, and she works in that area. Her husband goes along with her and voluntarily helps young kids, poor kids who need heart surgery. He's a heart surgeon in Chicago. We have Abraham George, with the George Foundation in New Jersey. And I must not forget Vikram Akula, because Vikram Akula is a Chicago graduate. He's a remarkable young man. He has created microfinance in India and is one of the major microfinancing sources in India. And his SKS Foundation does about $40 million in the country and is in 4 or 5 states. So all these people and many more have come to our conferences, have been inspired and motivated, and continue to help us and do our work. Yeah,
those are big names and a very impressive list.
Thank you.
So Boris, tell us about the team of IDCA. Who are the key people? Who are the founders? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we basically had 3 founders from the Chicago area besides the 15 people. They were Dr. Rajaram, Mr. Vivek Singhal, and Mohan Jain.
I see.
They founded and had the inspiration to continue to do it, each of them serving as a president for one year.
I see.
But to make IDCA function, we basically have founding members, like some of the members I've mentioned, who run their own NGOs. We have a board of directors. And the board of directors really acts as our consultants and advisors. And most of the board of directors are people with PhDs who have written books and have had 30 to 40 years in industrial experience. Then we have an executive committee, which I lead as the president. It usually consists of 5 members. And we have a president, a vice president, a treasurer, a secretary, and a publicity person.
I see.
Besides that, we also have program chairs. And the program chairs are really responsible, when we go back to the word wealth, to see that all and individual of these programs are done in forums on a monthly basis.
I see.
So that's how we work. And then we have IRAD, which is our supporting organization in India, which helps us with our annual conferences there in Delhi.
I see. Do you have any employees, or this is all volunteer-based?
We don't have any employees, but we have a huge computer data network that we use.
And what are the activities planned for this year?
This year, our main event is going to be a conference at the University of Indiana in Terre Haute, Indiana. It will be a conference with the India Studies program at the university and IDCA. It will be IDCA's 8th annual conference in joint with the university. We are expecting students from the University of Illinois, the University of Iowa, DePaul University, and Indiana State University.
So that's your effort to involve the youth?
Yes.
With IDCA?
Yes. To give you an idea, we have 800,000 Indians from India coming here for studies or education every year.
Okay.
Our
that's
goal,
a large number.
That's a very large number. Our goal this year is to take 800 American students to India and do projects and learn and look at the innovation that is coming out of India, and also act as a resource source for the NGOs and the NPOs in India.
Something like the Peace Corps.
Something like the Peace Corps.
Okay.
For example, University of Iowa offers almost 20 courses for credit at the University of Iowa, which the students can do in the winterim program. And these students are accompanied by faculty members. So along with the students doing projects there, the faculty goes along and also contributes to the development of the students and the development of India. So we get these excellent faculty members who give their input to the NGOs and NPOs.
And how long do they stay there?
They stay there. The University of Iowa stays there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And it's a very fascinating story. For example, they went to the Arvind Eye Hospital, which is very well renowned for the number of patients it sees, the number of operations it does. But the education school from Iowa went there and did a study on the high turnover of nurses, which they have. So, and the students from the medical school learned how to make healthcare more effective and efficient in the United States.
Okay.
So this conference at Indiana will bring the best of the American students and their efforts.
Okay. How many students have you sent so far? And if there are people out there in the audience who are interested in going to work in India for 3 weeks, the students,
yes.
What's the process? How can they contact you, or how do they qualify for this?
They can contact me, or they can contact the University of Iowa in this case, which runs the winterim program.
Okay, and your contact is?
Our contact is www.idc-america.org.
Okay.
Or they can go to the website of University of Iowa and look up the winterim program. And they take students from different schools, 10 schools, and they can join them. Okay. Air India flies the largest batch of students from America, half a plane load, which go on these missions.
I see. And how many years have you been sending students to India?
University of Iowa has been doing this for 3 years.
So you are facilitating
We are facilitating it.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Dr. Rajagopal, who is the geography and statistical teacher, spends 3 months in India visiting NGOs and NPOs. Okay. He also helps us select speakers for our conference. And he has selected a speaker from Madurai who will be coming here for the October conference.
Okay.
We will be flying in 2 to 3 people from India, which represent the best in the NGOs and the NPOs in India, to come and inform American citizens and American students what they can do.
Okay, great. So let's go back to the conference that you were telling me about, this year's conference. Some information about it, or the
conference is on
focus of the conference.
The conference is on October 23rd and 24th. It will be at Terre Haute, Indiana, at their campus. It will also involve abstracts and posters by the students. It will also involve several of our speakers who will come from all across the country to speak.
Okay.
It will... the University of Indiana is funding this predominantly, and we are the secondary funder.
I see.
And we are doing this jointly. There are 3 professors from the University of Indiana, Terre Haute, who are helping us in this venture, and we get reports back and forth every week as it progresses. And we expect this to be a unique event, because our goal is, as I said earlier, is to motivate and take 800 students from the United States to India to work on different projects. They may go from DePaul University, they may go from University of Indiana, they may go from University of Iowa, they may go from any university. We just want our American students to go to India and work with the NGOs and the NPOs, and this is what we call a homegrown Peace Corps, if I may say so.
Okay, yeah, you have a lot going here. You are facilitating collaborations, you are initiating your own projects, you are inspiring the youth, so a lot happening. And you also said that you are partially funding this conference, so how do you raise funds?
We have a bank balance, fortunately. Indian Foundation, or an Indian group, gave us $50,000 as a donation to help IDCA in its mission.
I see.
They have promised us additional funding in the coming years. That's one way we get the money. The second way is from our membership dues, our NPO dues, which help us on a daily operation and fund it. And then we are very good and getting money from Rotary Club, Lions Club. Rotary Club has been exceptional in supporting our projects. Rotarians have gone with us.
I see.
They have designed our sanitation facilities. We had a lady who's now the president of the Illinois Hospital Association go with us.
I see.
So we are delighted that we are able to take not only young Americans but elder Americans to India.
Okay. So any other information about the conference that you would like to include?
We would like everybody to come.
It's open to anyone,
it's open to
it's
anyone.
by invitation?
It's open to anyone. The registration for adults is only $50, and that includes food and everything else. And for students, it's $25.
It's a one-day conference?
It's a one and a half day conference.
1.5 day. Okay.
And we made hotel arrangements. And, you know, I am here in Silicon Valley, which is wonderful. We would be delighted to have a regional conference in this region.
That would be great.
We would be happy to bring some of our sponsors who are on the West Coast to Silicon Valley. And if any of your listeners would like to do it and have a conference in this area, whether it is in San Diego or San Francisco or here, we would be delighted to associate and help them. All they have to do is tell us of their intention and desire to do this by writing to www.idc-america.org.
Okay. India's problems are of astronomical proportions.
Yes.
And there's a lot one can do. So what is your vision? What is IDCA's vision when it comes to the development work in India?
Okay. Our vision is very simple. We would like to see a developed India, free of poverty, free of ignorance, free of diseases, free of social economic disparities, free of ecological disasters, and social harmonies. If I may close with the statement of Mahatma Gandhi, he said two very important issues relating to India. He said, who are the true lovers of humanity? Those who, forgetting themselves, bring sunshine to the lives of others. He also said, when he came to India, happiness depends on what we can give and not what we can get.
How true.
So our goal is to give and not to get. Thank you for having me.
On that note, I thank you very much for coming by and telling us about the wonderful work that IDCA is doing, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you very much for having us.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Our guest was Porus Dadabhoy, President of IDCA, which stands for India Development Coalition of America. This Chicago-based organization is actively engaged in accelerating development work in India by facilitating collaborations between organizations and through some of its own initiatives. For more information, you may go to their website, idc-america.org. And you may watch our show again at chaivithmanjula.org. Thank you all for joining us. I'll be back with another inspiring story about giving and people making a difference. For Chai with Manjula, I'm Manjula Gupta. See you next time.